just exactly the opposite. Jacob worked so hard to get Isaac's blessing. He hustled, he schemed, he lied, he risked everything, including his own life, to get this earthly inheritance from his dad. He hustled and schemed. He worked so hard to get that. But how valuable really is something that you can steal? Why Jacob wanted something so badly that he could steal, that could be stolen, I don't know. But he wanted so badly this thing. He valued it above all else, this earthly, temporary inheritance, this temporal blessing from his father. When all the time, Jacob had something far greater than what his father could give him, what Isaac could give him. And that was the blessing of God, which he could never steal. The greater blessing for Jacob was simply that God loved Jacob. The Bible says that God loved Jacob and hated Esau. And that love that God gave to Jacob was a greater blessing than anything he could have stolen anywhere on earth. In fact, that's what God gives. He gives that which no man can steal. Suppose, God gave that love freely to Jacob. Suppose that God loved Esau and hated Jacob. Could Jacob have somehow schemed and hustled and lied to get God to love him? No. He couldn't have. Because what God gives, nobody can steal. Therefore, what God gives is the most precious and valuable thing on the earth. Don't go after something that can be stolen. Or as the Bible puts it, where moth and rust can destroy. Don't value something that Satan can give you. Value something that no one on earth can give you. Value something that can never be stolen. Value most highly in your life the fact that God loves you. Stop seeking things that are only temporary. This blessing that Jacob gets out here with his head on a stone, that he didn't even ask for, that he didn't even solicit, that he may have even been ignorant about, was far more valuable than whatever he got from his father. Whether it was a few cattle or some blessing or some promise or prayer for prosperity. He had this love and protection of God himself. If God has expressed his love for you, and I hope and pray that for those of you who are believers here today, you treasure that. If God has come to you and said, I love you, what else are you looking for? I'm done. I'm done looking now. When God gives that declaration to me, I'm done shopping or looking for anything else. And if God has declared to you today, I love you, I don't know what else you're looking for than that. And I don't know what else Jacob was scheming and hustling for. He wasn't done hustling and scheming. And it was going to be in a few years from now when he would have that famous wrestling session with Jesus, in which he finally, or with the angel, when he finally decided that he wasn't going to go throughout life anymore without that singular blessing. It took him a while longer, but some of you maybe haven't had that wrestling yet either. But I hope you know that if God has declared his love for you, that's something nobody can steal, and it's something that nobody else can give you. It's the most valuable and wonderful thing in all of your life. But only God can give it. It was nothing Jacob could earn for himself. It was nothing he could scheme or steal for himself. And so that's very encouraging. The next thing I saw in here is that God sets down what no man could erect. Look at verse 12. It says, and he had a dream. And behold, a ladder was set on the earth with its top reaching to heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. I think it's important to note here, just very briefly, that this ladder was set down. Okay? That this ladder was not built from the earth up to heaven. Everywhere you look today, people are trying to build stairways to heaven, and they're all failing. You've got people, this religion's trying to build a stairway to heaven, this atheism is trying to build a stairway to heaven, this syncretism, all religions, this philosophy, this drug culture, this book, this fad, whatever. There are lots of stairways to heaven, and all of them fail, and all of them end their construction miserably and sadly. No tree grows all the way to heaven. Everything dies that starts here on earth. Everything fails, everything gets torn down, everything deteriorates, and everything breaks down. What I love about this passage is that this stairway to heaven, this ladder in which God is sending forth his messengers back and forth, it was set down from heaven. I think that's important for you to note in your walk with the Lord today, that there's no way that you personally can erect for yourself or build for yourself any apparatus or construction that's going to allow you to know God. The only way that you can have a glimpse of heaven is if heaven opens up for you. The only way you can know God today is if God makes himself known. And so don't for a second buy anything from anybody where they say that they are going to help you find God, or any book or any philosophy, any religion where they're going to open up for you a way to heaven. Because what's clear in the Bible, if anything's clear, is that any glimpse you have of God, any knowledge you have of God, of his kingdom, of his power, of his way, is something God gave to us. Okay? Something he opens up for us. So God sets down what no man could erect. And then the next thing I see in this passage is that God reveals what no man could discover. God reveals what no man could discover. Look at verses 16 and 17. It says here that Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." And he was afraid and said, "How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven." This is similar to what I've just said, but this place that he was laying his head, it's impossible to know exactly where it is, or we know where Bethel is today. But what's interesting is that Jacob was completely ignorant of what God was doing here. He was completely ignorant of the plan that God had for his life. He was completely ignorant of the way that heaven was being opened up and God was revealing himself to all of us here today through Jacob. He didn't know about any of that. And even if Jacob had wanted very badly to discover what God's plan was for his life and what God's plan was for redemption for mankind and so forth, he could never have discovered it on his own. He could have walked through that desert for the rest of his life and never seen what he saw. The only way he could get it, the only way he could know what was going to happen, is indeed if it was revealed to him. And if there's something missing, I don't know if you've ever had a book that's missing some chapters, or if you've ever had a story that you didn't hear the end to. It's very frustrating. If there's something missing, if you've ever tried to do a jigsaw puzzle and not all the pieces were there, and you can't tell what the whole picture is, I tell you today, the only way you're going to be able to make sense of your life, to make sense of this world, to make sense of the events and things that are going on in it, is if you ask God to reveal it to you. That's the only way it can be done.